Hello, and welcome back to A Link Between Oracles for our final episode of this show. Jack is here.
Mm-hmm. But only for the final episode. Only. I was one time.
As he always has been. Jack, how was your final play of the last bit?
It was awful.
It was awful.
No, it wasn't. It was the castle leading up until the final battle with Onyx is not fun.
Yeah.
But they do this really cool thing, I guess, where you can go left or right, and it'll basically refill your hearts. But there's like 3 rooms you have to get through, and one of them's a boss battle with like the face guy in the floor.
Oh yeah, okay.
They really like that boss.
They really do.
And then there was just there was a room of whiz robes, and then there was like one more, and then you just stroll straight into the castle.
Yep.
I went to the castle and got kicked out and literally sat there for like 5 minutes trying to figure out if there was like a secret way in or if I was doing something wrong. Then I realized I had forgotten to go back to the Makeu tree, so like I had to go back at the Makeu seed of, I guess since mine is
I did the same thing.
power,
actually,
yeah. And so then I could bypass the darkness that hangs over the castle that shuts you out. Was no longer there, and then I had to fight some Lionels and things like that. But the battle with Onyx is pretty cool. You can only damage him in the first phase of the battle by doing a spin attack, so I didn't remember that, so I kept trying different things while avoiding this giant mace that's spinning around in a circle. But eventually I figured it out because it was like literally the last thing I had not tried. And then he pulls. Din has been. I don't know about your game, but Din was captured in this like crystal. Mm-hmm. He like sealed her away, and he brings her from like her chains, and uses her as like a defense. So if you do a spin attack and hit her, you get electrified because it's like you're hurting. You're basically killing her.
Similarities in like the whole thing with VIII possessing Nehru's body, but not exactly the same.
Right. Yeah. And then, so what you actually have to do, though, is I think you use the Rod of Season. If I remember correctly, you use the Rod of Seasons on her to knock her out of the way, because it's like not damage, but it's still something solid that works like a sword. Huh. So you knock her away, and then you spin attack Onyx, and he blows up. And then there's like a bunch of Dins, and you're like, okay, well, which one is which? And then he's like, just kidding, and the floor falls away. And then you're face to face with this giant fucking dragon thing. He's referred to as the Dark Dragon, and he's got a bunch of sequences. But what you have to do is you have to like goad him into attacking with his hand, jump onto his hand, and then attack his like head gem. But what's really cool about this fight is if you can time your Rock's Cape correctly, you can jump, slash, and then fly across to the other hand, do that back and forth a couple times, and it becomes like if you keep doing that without falling, it's a really easy fight. But that also felt really nice because it was like, oh, I'm being rewarded for being able to like do this correctly. But if I wasn't, it would just be a longer battle, but I could still like do single jumps, hop off, slash, and fall.
Gotcha.
So that was nice. But then I slayed him. He went down pretty fast. And then Din was released from the crystal, and the seasons went back into equilibrium. And the game ends with a shot of Link and Din rejoicing, but 2 giant-nosed, beady-eyed witches are gazing upon, saying, it doesn't matter, the flame of rights, I believe it was, the flame of rights, the flame of destruction has been lit, and so now they just need to go light one more, and then Ganon will be resurrected. Or pure evil will be resurrected, something like that.
Which we all know what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's code for Ganon.
Yeah. And then that was the end of the game. And it was a really nice button on the end of an adventure combat heavy style Zelda game. That the last boss was pretty much not that much of a puzzle, but it was more just like figure out how to attack him correctly and avoid dying from his big ass mace.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Did not let me down in terms of like a final boss battle.
Cool. Okay, cool. Let me talk a little bit about Ages, which we just finished the Ancient Tomb in my game, and then after that, finally the Meku tree is finally like fully restored, as was in your game. I get the seed that repels the darkness. I did the same thing where I had to go, and I totally forgot about that. Or I didn't realize I needed the seed, so I had to go back and get it.
Well, they don't mention it. And then I don't think they're like, bring me all the essences and then I'll give you a gift. It's like, just go get the essences to help combat evil.
Yeah, it seemed like the obvious next thing to do was just to like go up there to the castle and be like, cool. But either way, go to the Black Tower turret, or the Black Tower that it is. And there was like a couple stair puzzles that I was presented with at first.
Stair puzzles?
Yeah, it was like, it's like you come in. It reminded me of Pokemon in a way, where like you go in and there's like a stairwell and you take it up the stairs, and it's like there's like a shit ton of stairwells just like on the map that you see, but there's like they're all blocked off.
Oh.
So you take the stairs up to the next floor, and then you have to go to like you have to zigzag. Yeah, basically.
Gotcha.
Like, so that was annoying. But then in the next room, it's another stair puzzle, but this time there's literally just an open space with a bunch of different stairwells, and then there's 4 flames that start out, and they start just like kind of moving around the room, and if you're impatient like me, you just pick a stairwell and hope that it's the right one. Which eventually leads you to like a room just like with enemies, and a stairway that leads you back to the original room.
Got it.
Unless you've picked the right one, which there's like one of those owls that use a mystery seed on, and he tells you like the correct path is the light that shines behind you or something. So when you go and you go into this room with all the stairwells, like the fire that is like that you're facing away from, you watch its pattern, and it eventually goes and it chooses a stairwell, and it just explodes on that stairwell.
Oh.
So you have to like wait for it and be patient, which sucks.
Yeah.
But I did that and got there, and then VIII is there again, being like, haha, here I am, I'm gonna do the thing. And you do the exact same thing you did with her before with Nehru, where she's possessed her body.
Mystery seed, switch hook,
mystery seed, and then
slash.
Pretty much that's the whole thing. And then she's pushed to the next phase where she becomes gigantic and awesome, and starts just kind of like swooping in and attacking. And she also summons 4 Dark Links, which they don't mirror your movement. They mirror your movement, but not your attack. So they don't attack. They just walk with you.
But if you run into them,
right,
it'll hurt.
But really, the only thing they're there for, honestly, is like the extra hearts they give you when you attack them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you attack them, and they drop a heart or 2, which is nice. But her phase, that phase is really easy. You're just waiting for her to swoop around, and you attack her, like whatever.
What can you do as a giant bee?
Exactly. Well, no, that's the next phase. So then, so after that happens, like, she's down, and Nehru.
Question: she was just swooping in as a normal person, just like.
Yeah, kind of like she's a witch, and I think she has some like attacks or whatever, some standard attacks, but like, she is just like a bullet, kind of like a spread, kind of spirally bullet thing.
Gotcha.
So you have to avoid that. There's certain things you just have to avoid.
Then forget I said anything as he goes into the next phase of this fight.
Because the thing is, like, you defeat her in that phase, and then Nehru and Ampi are all just like, oh, cool, she's done, we're done, let's leave. And so you start to leave, and then the floor falls out from under you, and Baron's like, you had to activate my true form, damn you. And, like, now she's in her true form, which is apparently a fucking turtle. Like, she's this purple turtle.
What?
Yeah. She's got just like a shell, and she's hanging out. She's a turtle. And you can't attack her when she's a turtle because she got a shell on. But then sometimes she pokes her head out and she just laughs at you smugly, and that's when you attack her. Like, you have to wait for her to just get a little arrogant, and then you attack her. And that's the strategy on that phase. And there's 2 other phases in this, which are not really phases as much as just like versions, where it's random, because sometimes you'll get one or the other. But there's a bee and there's a spider that she also becomes. Ooh. Yeah, I know you love spiders.
Yep, sure.
So the spider phase, she shoots a web at you, and if it connects with you, it kind of acts like a chain, like a hook, like a get over here, and she grabs you and brings you in.
So she scorpions you.
She scorpions you as a spider and eats you. Or she just kind of skittles around and like tries to like hit you. And I didn't understand how to beat this fucking phase, because like in the middle there's a piece of grass and you beat it, or you hit the piece of grass and a bomb comes out and you're like, oh, I have to use a bomb here. So you use a bomb, and I was like I tried to throw a bomb at her and I don't think it worked. Apparently it does, but I just guess I didn't do it right.
It just like barely missed the hitbox.
I guess so. I was just waiting for her to like throw her fucking like web at you, and I thought that you had to stick the bomb to the web, but that's like super precise, and I was like, this would be very hard.
Would have been like a really cool idea, because you like hold it, drop it in place, get her to shoot the web and move.
Yeah.
Ooh,
that's what I was thinking, but like it was.
I'm just gonna write that down for the future in case I ever make a top-down adventure game.
Right, but like the thing was, it was not. It kind of was unpredictable where the web was going to go, because it tried to follow you, but it was kind of unprecise. Mm-hmm. And then even if you dropped it right there and tried to run away, it would 9 times out of 10 just grab you anyway. So I couldn't get past that phase, and I kept dying, which sucks, because if you die in that phase, it brings you back to the very first thing. Which is another reason those Dark Links are nice, because like you drop those hearts and it's like,
so you could kind of stall and gather hearts on them as she brings them in.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, in this phase there are no Dark Links. So anyway, the other thing that she does other than the spider was the bee, and the bee is kind of like just kind of fucking flies around like a dick and shoots like some stingers at you, and is not that big of a deal. Honestly, it's very easy. And the phase that I actually beat her in, she was a turtle first, and then she became the bee, and that was like pretty much it. I don't even think she went into spider at all. That was the time that I actually beat her.
That's what we call in the speedrunning business a sequence break, where you just did so much damage you skipped from one. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, actually, like I think it's just like she chooses. So there's
it's like a random
like
number
if you
generated.
like you could probably beat her in spider and never see the bee if you're like that good and you just go into it right away. But actually, it took me a few attempts just because that shitty spider phase.
Trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, but pretty much after that, it's done. It's over. Nehru is saved. You're all good. And the same kind of thing happens with Twin Rova. You get this kind of like looming, I'll see you in the next one kind of feel.
Did yours end with to be continued in Oracle of Seasons?
Yes, it did.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it had like the code and everything. So at the end of the game, you get the code, and then the code can be used in the other game to link the games. They have to play through the entire game again?
Yeah.
Or like that game?
Okay, so basically when you play a linked game and get to the end of the second game, you enter this thing called the Room of Rights as like your like post-game thing. Mm-hmm. And Twin Rova basically merges and fights you in 3 forms: fire, ice, and both. From what I remember, it's not like super hard of a fight, but it's also just a nice little end, and the whole thing is you're trying to defeat them before I believe they summon Ganon. Mm-hmm. But then, just kidding, they summon Ganon and he attacks, and if you have the Noble Sword, you have to spin attack to damage him, but with the Master Sword you can just hit him because it's the Master Sword. And one thing to note is the Bigorons.
Bigoron. I say Bigoron.
Bigoron.
Right.
Bigoron's sword doesn't even affect him at all.
Huh. Okay.
Which I believe is also a linked game item as well. As that's the only way to get it. I could be wrong.
Cool. So final thoughts on Oracle of Seasons for you. How did you feel about the game? How did it hold up? I mean, I know you've already played this game before.
It still holds up to me.
Sure, yeah.
The battles are fun. They're really well constructed for the ideology of the game, I think, which is a little more faster paced combat. Everything, there wasn't a lot of puzzles, and when there were, they were pretty simple. I mean, especially compared to Ages, and even from the sound of it, like what I don't remember from Ages, the puzzles are like nowhere even near as hard. And they probably just, because they made the one that's supposed to take place first, and then they made the second one, and we're like, oh, why don't we just like improve on everything? And if people follow the storyline, they'll get a game that goes from combat to both combat and puzzle. A little less combat, more puzzle. But, like, yeah, all the bosses were fun. Mini bosses especially were fun. I really liked the Golden Beast side quest that gave me that Ring of Power that made, like, the final boss probably way easier. Just because, like, I'm doing double damage without taking double, like...
Oh, yeah.
Hits.
That's a nice ring.
Yeah. So that was a good ring. I love the ring system. Pretty much love any game that has a ring system, to be honest. As, like, a separate equipable menu. Yeah, definitely holds up. I still like it better than Ages. Definitely. For sure.
Yeah. Cool.
I also just love the seasons mechanic more than I love time travel.
Sure. How would you rank it in comparison to other Zelda games?
Ooh. Well, like, Breath of the Wild, Link's Awakening are kind of my top two.
Sure.
It's better than Skyward Sword. But, like, I definitely liked A Link Between Worlds more than I liked this game.
Sure.
But I have more nostalgia for this game than, like, A Link to the Past, so I like it more than A Link to the Past.
Fair.
And it's a little less, the same story, I guess. I guess because there's a lack of so much story setup in Oracle, and both the Oracle games. I like it a little more because my imagination gets to run a little more when I'm thinking about, like, oh, what's actually happening in, like, the game world. It's like, oh, how long does this take as well? Like, is Link just, like, gone for months at a time and then coming back and be like, I got another essence. What's up? But a little more Link to the Past is, like, everything has to happen so suddenly.
Sure.
I don't know. I like it, and it's up there. It's in my top 5 still.
Okay, nice.
Just because
Nice.
I have so many fond memories of playing this game.
Sure. I had feelings about Oracle Ages, but I will say this: I think they did do a good job for what they were given. I could see this game when it came out being pretty great. Like when you think about like handhelds and how far that has gotten. This was like considering this was post Majora's Mask, like so there were still a few games out there already for Zelda, but it would have been cool to just have another handheld Zelda game. And I think overall, I think that the like complexity of this game for a handheld would have fared better in that time, and also like for me at that age. Now with so many Zelda games that there are to choose from, and especially me starting with my first Zelda game ever was, I mean, fucking Ocarina of Time. So it's like I was used to those kind of games. So Twilight Princess really hit home for me because I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's more familiar to what I'm used to playing. I just recently started playing top-down Zelda games. I played A Link to the Past. That was my first one a few months ago. And then I followed it shortly with Link's Awakening. And what I took away with Link's Awakening was like, I'm not sure I liked Link's Awakening because I thought Link to the Past was really strong. And now after playing Oracle of Ages, I was like, I liked Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think the game had a really strong start. I like the concept, but I do think that the concept is a little overdone. And even though like something like A Link Between Worlds came out after this, I think they approached it really well, and it wasn't tired when I played it because I played it before A Link to the Past. But you have A Link to the Past where you go back to the past and there's another world, and you go to the future or the present and there's another world. Then you have Ocarina of Time where you go to the past, or you start in the past and you go to the future,
and then back to the past and go to the future.
And then they have Oracle of Ages where it's you go to the past and there's another fucking. It's like, yes, we get it. You go to the past.
Time travel.
And it's got very I think it's just like it got very tedious. In all those exploration kind of parts of the game.
And that's why I like seasons so much, is because the idea of changing seasons and having the direct area you're in just reshape itself, but it's still the same area for the most part.
Yes.
There are some times in Ages where you go back to the past and it's like, oh, this is completely different, and now I have to go this long way around to get one screen over when I, like, you know.
Exactly.
Versus Season where it's like, unless it's a very specific area with, like, snow or trees blocking part of the game, because that's not where you're supposed to be yet, in terms of difficulty and having the right items. Because this is the thing about Zelda games, for the most part, is you can't really go to certain places until you have those correct items. And so I would say, Ocarina of Time gets away with it because you go back to the past and everything's different, or you go to the future and everything's different, and that works. But like in the Game Boy games, because it's not a full 3D environment, it's not as fun to explore.
Exactly.
Because you're going, I just need to get like 4 screens over.
Right. I'm not invested in my environment. It's a fucking 2D little, like, whatever graphics. Like, I don't care. I don't care.
And for the most part, when you go back and forth, it's either, it's the future, which now sucks, or, it's the past, which sucked and is all
Which
brown.
sucks as well, yeah.
It's a lot of brown and grays.
It really is.
Like, Seasons is like, each time you swish the rod through the air, you get a whole new color palette. You get new interactions with water and trees and plants and vines and rocks. Like, everything changes each time you do it. So that's probably why I like it more. It's a lot more colorful. Things are more... It's more interactive.
Sure.
And each screen has something to do for each season. Yeah.
Well, same, like, to go off of that, the tools as well. The other problem was that, like, you don't get the ability to go just back and forth from the past to the future until, like, the end of the game.
7th
till
dungeon.
The fucking end. Like, in the beginning, you're just waiting to find a portal. And it's like, maybe I'll find one here. And it's like, that already is just, like, adding tedium to the game. So those parts, were not enjoyable for me. I was just trying to speed through it to get to the next dungeon. Which even then, at the end of the dungeon runs, a few of those last dungeons were just so fucking complicated and, like so much going on that it was like, why do I have to do this? And then once you get through the dungeon, the boss is just so fucking stupidly easy, and you're just like, okay, well, that was cool. Like, the combat is, for me, one of the most enjoyable parts, like beating those big bosses. Those are awesome. And it's like, you get to the end of a dungeon, you work so hard to get to this boss, and you just fucking swipe your sword a few times and they're done. And it's like, cool.
Or do something specific with an item really fast.
Right, and it's like, okay, now move on to your next really hard puzzle. Great. That was a great break. So, for me, not on the top of my list. Actually, probably my least favorite Zelda game I've ever played. So far. But I haven't played a few games, so I still have Skyward Sword to play.
Skyward Sword's not bad. It's just, it's everything over again.
I feel you, and that's getting tired already. So it's like, I still have to play Majora's Mask, too, which people rave about that game.
Because it's completely different.
But it's also...
But also the same.
Apparently really hard. So, like, I wonder how I'm going to approach that.
Oh, I can't. I've given up on trying to play that game so many times. Yeah. I have started it over 10. And I have never really got past the first area. Like, the first dungeon. Like, it's after the first one, you're like, alright, I get to reset the days again.
Right.
It's good for people who love figuring everything out. I don't think I could have played that game as a kid and not had a walkthrough.
I know, like that. Well, that's how I played a lot of my games as a kid. Anyway, is like I had a fucking walkthrough with me, so I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
Oh, you what? You casual?
Yeah, absolutely.
You casual player?
I was fucking 6 years old. Okay.
Walkthrough.
Yes.
Just kidding.
No, I know. So yeah, so that was cool. Like, I'm glad I get to move on to a new game. I'm like excited to play Majora's Mask, and eventually.
Story-wise, it's a great game.
Yeah.
I will watch a speedrun of that game any day.
Sure.
Just like an all dungeons run or something like that. It's a cool concept. I really like what they did because they were like, we want to do something entirely different, and it's really well made. So I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with it.
Nice. Cool.
But I would say again, other than just like movement mechanics and combat and things like that, it's nothing like Ocarina of Time. So you're gonna have a familiar environment and control scheme, but the approach and the formula is just completely different.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It's a similar feel to like the graphics and everything. But any last words or thoughts? This is the end of our show as we know it.
Seasons is better than Ages.
I
any
bet
day.
Seasons is better than Ages, and that's the thing. Like, if I played Seasons, I might have a different opinion on all this, but...
One day, you should, if you have the chance, and are like, you know, because you're going to play a bunch of 3D Zeldas again, and you might want to be like, oh, let me play a top-down again. Pick up the Password
Yeah, I still
and
have
play
it.
a linked game, and then just enjoy that.
Yeah.
You can play with a full walkthrough just so you can make sure you get the Master Sword and the Mirror Shield like as soon as possible, because it makes it a lot of fun.
Sure. Yeah, that is something I would consider. Like, I think I'm at the point now where I've just been through so many 2D Zelda games where I'm like, all right,
need a break.
I need to move on. Yeah, I need to do something a little more.
Because they become very samey.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited.
Even if there's different, if there's different puzzles and approaches, it's still very much the same.
It is. It really is. It is. But also, Wind Waker, I haven't even busted it open yet, but I have it.
Oh, I forgot you haven't played Wind Waker yet.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one too.
Probably my least favorite Zelda game.
Really?
Even more so than Skyward Sword.
Oh my god, Jack.
It's just Ocarina of Time.
I like how your list backwards is like commonly accepted as best guess.
I'm sorry. No, Ocarina of Time is still in my top 5. Like,
oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought you didn't really like it.
I don't, but I understand how important it was as a game.
Sure. Okay.
And it's not a bad game.
Yeah.
It's still fun.
Yeah, sure.
But it's probably Breath of the Wild, Link's Awakening, original Zelda, because I do love original Zelda, Ages, and then
Ocarina. Before Link to the Past?
Before Link to the Past. However, I want to actually put Twilight Princess in as my 5th, because I do love Twilight Princess.
I do like Twilight
I had no problem with it when it came out. I was like, yeah, gonna turn to a wolf? Dude!
Yeah, dude.
And I like the color palettes of everything, and
it was a strong game. I like
Zant
it.
is a cool evil guy, and having him not be Ganon was like, yeah!
Yeah.
That's great!
Yeah, it was
There's some other people.
It was cool. I liked it a lot. All right. Well, thank you to everybody who has stayed with us this long for our last episode. This has been... This has been a fun time.
He says.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Cool. Stay tuned. I will post something for what I'm going to be doing with Majora's Mask as my Zeldathon continues. I'm probably just going to do a YouTube video to review the entire game, but we'll see what I end up doing. If you have any comments or suggestions about what you think you'd like to see for the next Zelda game, leave them below. And thanks for listening, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your entire life.
And we will see you in A Link Between Battle Networks soon. Very soon.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see about that. Jack has an idea to possibly extend this to other games, so we may continue our podcast to what would be a Mega Man game.
Yeah, dude.
Next.
Battle Network!
Which would be cool. Alright, guys. Take care. See you later.
Bye!
Or never.
Or never. But most likely in the future.
Game